Hey, this is the national treasure, Nick Aldis, and you're listening to the All Night Long Wrestling Podcast.
Welcome back to another edition of the All Night Long Wrestling Podcast. We are your hosts. He's the Stallion. I am the Enforcer. And this week we have a very, very special guest. If you live on Long Island, in parts of the tri-state area, you know this gentleman from 94.3 The Shark, the only radio station on Long Island. Doesn't make me want to bash my head against the wall. Orlando, man, welcome to the show, and thank you so much for hanging out with us today.
You know, once in a while we play Slipknot, and every Halloween I play Sepultura Roots, and if I don't make you want to bash your head against the wall, then I'm not doing my job, brother.
Listen, you're the only Long Island radio DJ that will ever mention Sepultura, and it won't sound like they're reading from a cue card. So thank you very much for stopping by the show today.
Well, this is awesome, man. Thank you.
Yeah, we've touched base a couple of times. You have done some really cool stuff in the world of professional wrestling. I know you grew up a fan, and I definitely want to get to your fandom and wrestling and things like that. But most importantly, recently you came out. We have a lot of similar bands that we like. I grew up early '90s. I grew up on the grunge era and things like that. And through your connections in radio, you've made some really good friends, and a couple of your really good friends came together for a great cause. The Choose song video. I want to make sure I got everybody on here. Members of Candlebox, members of Wheatus in there, Sponge. Like, that's the who's who of the 90s. And I think it's so cool. These guys, first and foremost, still sound great today, and they're not parodies of themselves. These guys are out there killing it. We've seen them a bunch of times.
Top notch, man.
It's crazy. I mean, I wish I could say the same about, my man Axel, who I love literally to death. But now he kind of looks like Rosie O'Donnell. But regardless, you guys came together and you came out with a song called Choose Song. Now, it is, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, you had this idea after Chris Cornell passed away, right?
Yeah, so Chris Cornell passed away in May of 2017. And it was the day after the big Metallica concert at the Nassau Coliseum. 94.3 The Shark had put on a 7-week promotion. Remember, we were going around with kazoos to different charities, and it consumed my entire life. And then the big payoff was the show. Normally, I would take off after a show like that. Didn't get home till 2 a.m, but I was so excited to wake up and talk about the Metallica show because they were amazing. I'm like, all right, I'll go into work on 2 hours sleep, bleary-eyed. And the first thing I did was check my phone, and the news about Cornell taking his life was everywhere. And it was probably the hardest day of my career, but it was also one of the most, I don't know how to put it, because I don't want to say greatest, because I wish I never had to go through it, but the amount of listeners, the amount of friends, everybody that called in that said, look, we got to get through this day together, gave me this idea that I know all these people because of music, and because of music, we're going to get through this together. And that, the lyrics to Choose Song were me writing down how to deal with losing a guy who I looked up to and how to do it using music and the people that I met through it.
And somebody that you lost in the in the music world senselessly, right? Because it's not like one of those things that you expected. He wasn't sick and things like that. He was sick, and we just didn't know it. At the end of the day, that's really what it came down to.
Well, that's what this is all about, is that mental illness is a disease, and it's a crippling one, and it's a deadly one, and nobody wants to talk about it. We've been on lockdown for 4 months, and yes, we needed to protect ourselves from a physical illness, but nobody wanted to talk about the damage that's being done through this illness. Nobody wants to talk about the fact that, yeah, we needed to make sure we didn't spread a virus, but what about the damage being done because of that? It wasn't so cut and dry, and a lot of people started to unravel.
Yeah, and it's like you said, it's also a silent. It's a silent illness that people don't talk about that aren't sick, and if you are sick and suffering from it, you're a lot less likely to talk about it. So and I remember that day when that happened, and listen to the radio station. Everybody called in with favorite moments when they had seen Soundgarden, or their favorite songs, or favorite memories, and I should say it's a rock station, 94.3 The Shark. You guys play all types of rock music, and that's why I think wrestling has always been so tight-knit, all the way back to Hulk Hogan's Rock and Wrestling. It's the same thing, in professional wrestling, you lose people to suicide too. Hana Kimura, I'm not sure if you're familiar with her. She was a Japanese star. She was 22 years old. She took her life 4 or 5 months ago because of cyberbullying, you know, and the wrestling world came together, and much like, you know, the rock world did for the Chris Cornell thing, and you rally around these people, but you want to find a way to rally around these people before it's too late. You know, you want to celebrate them being here now and get those words out. And I think after you guys did that with Chris Cornell, I know you even want to say it was like one of the greatest moments, but almost like an enlightening thing, you know, did so many people share the same feelings that you felt that day.
Yeah, you know, the reason why I mentioned what was going on with the pandemic, and we'll get into it, is, I mean, that was a big reason why we eventually released the song, the video. But in wrestling, in music, you see a glamorous life. You see superstardom. You see money. What you don't see is these people are alone. These people who are on the road that aren't with their families have plenty of people coming up to them, but they don't know the real them. They know the persona that's portrayed on TV or the guy on stage. And loneliness, for me, is one of the biggest factors of depression. You could be surrounded by people and still feel alone. And that's why this is so deadly, because you're not taking into consideration what the person's going through. You might not know. And that's why so many people are depressed. And in the wrestling world, it's prevalent for that reason.
Yeah, it's the same thing, you know, not a facade, but you know the alter ego of these people. You know the people you see in the ring or the people you see on stage. You don't know the people behind closed doors. And, you know, I think social media has done, you know, I'm 30, I'm going to be 34 next month, and I'm still not sure if social media is a good thing or a bad thing, you know, because for all the positive effects it has, there's just as many negative side effects to it. So it has to be used the right way, but you have assholes in every aspect of the world. So just when you guess what, when you get online, they're still an asshole. Like, you're not going to get online and be like, you know what, I'm going to be a good person today. No, that's who you are, unfortunately. And it's much easier for you to affect other people online and via social media and negativity. So it's a sad state of affairs. But so after Chris Cornell passes away, you have this idea. How does this idea come to fruition? What do you like? You have a lot of connections, and you dabble in everything. So how are you like, all right, what am I going to do now? How am I going to affect this?
I haven't written a song in years. You know, like every once in a while, if I'm dating a girl, I'll scribble something down to, you know.
Hell yes.
Yeah. But like, you know, I used to write a lot and never did anything with it. I wasn't a musician. I scribbled down the words to True's song So Easy at my kitchen table in Holbrook. And then I kind of sat on them. And then Brendan B. Brown from Wheatus, who's a Northport guy, is a very good friend of mine. He's like a brother to me. And we just started to talk about Cornell. And casually I said, you know, I wrote a song about that. And he asked me to see it. So I figured, why not? So I handed it to him a couple of days later on like 15 pieces of paper, whatever I had it on. And it was his idea to turn it into a song. So now we're in the summer of 2018. It's a year after I wrote the words. It's July. And we're in his parents' attic in Northport. And I don't know anything about the songwriting process. I know Brendan's a meticulous guy. 7 hours later, we have a demo. I could send you the original demo. It's just him and a guitar singing. And I remember when he first sang the melody, I'm like, this isn't what I imagined. Like, this isn't how I want it. And then as soon as he was done, I'm like, no, I'm wrong, completely wrong. That's why he's the musician.
You brought the baker the ingredients, and he made the cookies. You know, that's the best way I could put it.
Pretty much. You know, so I brought it home. I played it for my wife at the time. And I remember her saying to me, you need to get the guys. Two of my really close friends are members of Sponge and Candlebox. And she was the one that said, you need to get the guys on this. And I asked Brendan if he thought it was a good idea. And he agreed. So we sent the demo out. And it was Kevin Martin from Candlebox that said, let's make this the Do They Know It's Christmas Time of suicide prevention.
Wow.
So from July until November, these guys passed around the parts back and forth. The drums, the bass. You know, the drummer on the track is the drummer of One Direction's touring band, Josh Devine.
Okay. Wow.
He was a really good friend to Brendan. And I remember when he said, we're going to get the drummer of One Direction to drum on this thing. I'm like, you out of your mind, bro? It's a grunge song. And then I heard Josh play, and I'm like, yeah, this doesn't sound anything like a boy band. The kid's a thunder god. And Kevin finished his vocals in November of 2019. And then we decided we need a music video, but how are we going to do a music video? I said, okay, we'll have everybody sing in their car, because carpool karaoke is a big thing. So we sent everybody GoPros. And then Ashley Massaro, who was also a very good friend of mine, was doing Saturdays at 94.3 The Shark. And I stopped in every Saturday or every other Saturday to check on her, see how she was doing. And again, casually, I said, hey, Ash, check this out. And I played her the song, and she loved it. And I remember her saying, you know, I struggle with this. I would love to help. And I believe she was the one that suggested the video. So I said, you know, we're doing something with GoPros. And she goes, well, I'd love to help. So then I came up with the concept of the DJ's having a bad day, but you don't realize he's having a bad day because you're hearing him on the radio. You can't see his pain. You know, she's somewhere else listening to me. She's having a bad day. And then while these guys are in their cars singing, our bad days meet at a brewery where there's a local band playing grunge music. And by the time we get there, everybody's singing along, everybody's having a good time. And it seemed like whatever was going on disappeared. And that's the concept of the video. And she was the one that was like, I want to be, you know, I would love to help. And I'm like, well, how can I say no to having Ashley Massaro in my music video?
Absolutely. And Ashley Massaro, I mean, I believe it was the Diva Search in 2005, 2006. They dogs love it too, man. So my guys over here, you know, everybody's supporting us right now. She's Long Island's a weird place, man. You know, it surprises you how people make it big for Long Island and you know where they came from or something like that. Ashley Massaro, which I believe she grew up in Babylon, right? Not too far.
Babylon. She went to John Glenn High School in Elwood, and then she was living in Smithtown. When she rose to prominence, I was living in New Jersey, so I wasn't aware of all the local hype that was going on. And I was still big into wrestling, but I wasn't into it the way I was when the Ultimate Warrior and Brutus Beefcake and Kerry Von Erich were around.
Nobody is.
It's not the same.
Yeah.
I knew who she was. When I moved back here, I was working for a radio station in Westchester, and a local promoter who does these conventions, big events, Brian Barth.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
He asked me if I would interview a couple of wrestlers to promote it. One of them was Ashley. Now, this is going back to like 2011. And we did the interview, and then we started talking a typical Long Island conversation. Oh, who do you know? Oh, where'd you hang out?
When's the last time you went to the Bordy Barn? You know, that kind of thing.
Perfect. Yep. Next thing you know, it's a half an hour, and, you know, we're just BSing. So we hit it off, and we stayed in touch. And I would run into Ashley everywhere, and we'd always talk. And I had an idea to bring her in to be a DJ on the Shark. It took a couple of years because schedules just never worked out until 2018, 2019. Yeah, because she was at the Christmas party in 2018, so she was with us for a while. And she became a regular member of 94.3 The Shark. And the big concern was that this big TV star was going to come in and have an ego and want to take over.
Have an attitude and think they deserve everything, even though they just started, right?
She couldn't be the furthest thing from that. She always asked questions. She always wrote down everything that you said. She always was looking for a way to improve. And it was great to see.
That's, you know, and to come in with such a humble mindset, you can see why she got to where she did in life in the WWE and stuff like that, because you're willing to learn. So Ashley's in the video. Unfortunately, we lost Ashley Massaro. I believe it was just about a year ago.
Yeah, it was May. It was May 16th. So it was just a week before her 40th birthday. And we were all set to put the video out. Ashley did see the video. She saw a version of it that was like 90 to 95% complete. We watched it in my car on my phone, you know, and she absolutely loved it. And we talked about plans with the video and stuff. It was only a couple of weeks before we were going to put the video out that we lost her. And, you know, immediately ideas for the video were scrapped. I wanted nothing to do with it.
Everything takes a back seat. You know, family comes first, life comes first, and you don't. So many, you know, it's not you're not capitalizing off of a tragedy. That's the opposite of what you're trying to do.
You know, her daughter Lex, such a great girl. She works for 94.3 The Shark. She's on the promotions crew. She has like a big smile, and you know, I love seeing her working because she's happy. She wants to do radio stuff, but at the time, I just remember how awful it was, and the thought of putting anything out that had to do with, especially the irony of the video and what it was about, just seemed so disgusting. Like I felt like I needed to bathe,
Right.
you know, because
Like a creepy sleaze bag kind of promoter guy who's trying to capitalize on things. When in actuality, you know, you're sitting on this thing that you think it can help. So I can imagine being torn, right? Because you think this can help so many people, it can get the word out there, and it's such a point where she's in the public eye now. You know, the Google searches and everything, and Ashley Massaro's name is everywhere. But you don't want to be the guy that's looking to profit off of that. So I can only imagine like the dynamic between the two.
I was torn between talking to the news when she passed. You know, we had a couple of different news outlets come to the station, and I remember talking to Rob Rush going, I don't know if I feel comfortable with this, because I don't want it to seem like I just want to put myself out there because of her death. And you know, Rob had felt the same way, but we both realized, listen, if anybody's going to be talking about her work ethic, it might as well be her two bosses, you know, of the thing that she's known for now. Plus, it gave me a way to like talk about the good things with Ashley. Like News 12 did a great job. They were upfront saying, we just want to know who she was. And that's what Rob and I gave them. And that I was comfortable with. And it just seemed like that was the right thing to do. The video, we didn't mention, we didn't talk about. Nobody really knew about it.
So I guess, you know, how did you go about deciding, you know, what the video should be seen, and you think that it could do more good than it would any kind of negative press to have the video out there?
So we talked about it once or twice. I called Kevin from Candlebox because he's like a big brother to me, and I asked him what he thought. And his point was that it should come out to show the world that this can happen to anybody, that depression doesn't have any bias, you know, and there could be a positive message to it. And I knew that he was right, but I just wasn't ready. You know, when we did my birthday bash in June, Vinny and Brendan were both there. They played the song, you know, and we watched the reaction, and the reaction was great, and there were tears everywhere. But I still felt like the video, Ashley's physical presence, was just too weird. And then fast forward to the pandemic, you know, and everybody is unraveling. And, you know, even now in July, it's a little easier, but you remember what April was like, and it was so tense, and we couldn't go anywhere, and we were losing our minds. And I decided to do a telethon for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, who is the same charity that the song was supposed to benefit. And my thought was, everybody's talking about the nurses and the doctors and the first responders, and that's great, but nobody's talking about the people who are sitting at home. They're heroes too, sacrificing themselves by making sure nobody gets this thing and suffering in isolation.
Doing the right thing.
Doing the right thing.
For the people, but not necessarily the right thing for themselves.
Right. You know, and it just felt like these are the people that needed to be saluted, spoken to. So we put together a 2.5-hour telethon of music, acoustic performances, and we had a bunch of celebrities talking about how they're in isolation and they're struggling, but, you know, we can do it together. And the music was the big factor in it. So I think Vinny called me a week after that, and he says, you know, cuz that telethon was so important. It got so many people together. What do you think about putting out the video? And I was like, you know, Vin, it still seems so weird. It's now a year has passed, But I said, I don't know how it's going to feel. And he made the point that we're so unraveled right now and so distraught that maybe putting out the video will put out a positive message at this point. So we both decided to talk to Ashley's parents, and I went over to the Massaro house, and Vinny called in, and her mom said, look, Brian, Ashley obviously wanted to do this. This was her wish. She goes, this isn't really my decision. She goes, this was something my daughter wanted to do. But we watched the video. The family loved it. And there was some tears. There was a lot of smiles and hugs. And they gave us their blessing. So that's really how we put it out.
And the response to the video has been, I don't want to say surprisingly, but like literally overwhelmingly positive. I haven't seen one negative comment about the video. It's been shared everywhere. You've been talking to, podcasts, doing interviews and stuff like that. And there's just so much positivity surrounding it. Now that it's released, how do you feel?
Well, relieved. You talked about the internet being so negative, the yin to the yang of the positive. There is 140 thumbs up on the YouTube video, right? And only 1 thumbs down. So in internet language, that's impossible. That doesn't happen. Only 1 thumbs down like that. I was ready for the criticism. I was ready for the internet trolls. I was ready because, especially wrestling fans can be tough on this stuff,
Worst kind of people. Well, you've been to the big event. You know what a lot of dude, you know what it's like.
And they're screaming at guys for losing matches that they were told to lose 20 years ago. And, it's really humbling to know that something that we all did was received the way it is, and I think that because she was so loved, I think that most people are just relieved that they saw her in something positive. It's weird because the song itself, you got 2 of my favorite bands of all time, Candlebox and Sponge. Wheatus has always been a fun band for me. They were a party band.
I was going to say they're a party band. Yep, absolutely.
But Sponge and Candlebox were 2 bands that saved my life. I don't know how many times through the years. I quote all their lyrics in the song. And to have these guys singing something I wrote is ridiculous. I mean, it's amazing. But it's like, who the hell am I?
I mean, and just so you know how far back I go on Sponge, I was 9 years old and I watched Empire Records, which to me these days is a top 5 dead or alive movie. And I just happened to see a part of the movie and I heard Plowed when they start the party. And I called my grandma who had a TV guide and I asked her to look up what the name of the movie was that was on TV so I could write it down and then I could buy the soundtrack. So that, I mean, these are bands that you grow up with, and as a fan, I think it's to have these bands, reach out to you and be part of this, I think is amazing. To get the feedback that you've gotten is amazing. And I mean, I'm looking at now over 14,000 views in a week. That's 14,000 views, as you said, 140 thumbs up, countless shares. I mean, you've really, you dabble in a lot of things. Like I said before, you do Angela's House is a charity that I know you deal with a lot. And to do this, like, what made you, like, I don't want to say, you are who you are as a person, but I feel like you're one of those people that you could reach a lot of people. Being on 94.3 The Shark, I mean, except for people in Rocky Point, because the worst reception I've ever heard out here. But that's fine. Aside from that, you
the Connecticut stations, man.
PLJ, Scott and Todd in the morning. That's from that. When did you decide, like, you know what, I have this voice that can reach these people. These causes mean a lot to me. I got to get out there and I got to use my voice for good.
When I was working for a station on Long Island back in 2010, I wanted to do a 24-hour telethon. And my reasons for it were completely selfish. The program director and I didn't really see eye to eye on the music. And I thought if we did a request-a-thon where people called in to pay for their requests, we would have to play whatever they want. And it was all about me getting to play Iron Maiden on the radio. And I worked with a guy named Bill Powers. Now, I didn't know it at the time, but Bill had a daughter that had passed away. And Angela's House was the organization that helped him through the entire thing, helped get his daughter the medical help, and then helped with the funeral when she passed. So he says, look, man, could we add a charity to this telethon? I said, of course. We went from 10 a.m. December 22nd to 10 a.m. December 23rd, 24 hours straight. During that time, family members from Angela's House came up. We had different people call in, and I got to hear all these stories from all of these families that have medically fragile children. And I remember thinking to myself, I never have to deal with this because I don't have kids, but I'll be damned if I'm not going to get involved to help those that do. I mean, that's really, like, when you see what these families go through and how close they are. I mean, look, I've been married twice. We don't have kids. My marriage has lasted 10 minutes. You know, these families stick together with a lot worse than I have. And it's so humbling and so inspiring, you know?
The 10 minutes thing got me. Well, listen, as somebody who's been to your birthday bashes at Momo's too down there, and you know, the 1940s brewery, I believe we're running a little bit short because Zoom gives us a 30-minute window, so we might have to wrap this up and touch base on another day. But I want if you go to it's very simple, choose song on YouTube. That's where you could find it. You are everywhere.
Official video.
True Song official video, correct. And it's under Orlando, so it's very easy to find. As far as people following you on social media, you are a very, very entertaining Facebook friend, I must say. The amount of conversation you stir up on a day-to-day basis, I thoroughly enjoy. Some of those internet trolls might just be friends of yours on Facebook. But you know what? It's lighthearted stuff, man. And I think that's what the world needs today. You can't dwell in the negative. Actually, you know what? No, I'm going to make one negative comment. Can we open the fucking gyms? That's all I'm asking for.
Yeah. Look, that's my charity single. Choose gym. I'm sorry, but I'm done like a sloth. You know, lives matter. I need the gym.
Well, as a couple of New Yorkers here, we're really hoping Governor Cuomo hears us. He hears our pleas to open the gym. I don't care what you want me to. I'll wear a beekeeper's outfit. It doesn't really matter to me. But I think it's that time. There, I might have somebody was that a Russo swerve? Did we just get?
Yeah, we got a run in by more time. The father came in and gave us more minutes. I got the update on my screen.
Outstanding. That was so. You know what? I take back everything I said about cutting it short. I don't take back my comments about the gym though, because that, my friend, is bullshit.
Well, but you see, that's part of it too, and part of why we did the telethon, because we lost all of our outlets. You know, I agree that we needed to stay home. I'll never take that away, but that doesn't mean that it was easy. And when you took away the gym, the restaurants, the bars, and sports, you basically took away my life.
Dude, what's left?
Right.
What do we have left? I'm playing Madden 95 on Super Nintendo probably 3 hours a day. I'm not saying it's not healthy. I'm just saying it's what they've left with us.
Right. And at some point when you're opening stores, you know, because they said supermarkets were essential, right? Except when you're going to the store 5 times a day because there's nothing else to do, that's not essential anymore.
Right.
You know, so if you gave us other places to go, you'd actually spread us out. Now we're at a point where if I wipe my equipment down and I'm disinfecting things, which you're supposed to do anyway, why not?
Why can't, dude, I got a staph infection from the gym in 2010. Guess what? It was dirty then. It's going to be dirty now. Let us have an outlet, man. We'll be smart. We'll put on masks. It doesn't matter. Now that we have extra time. So you have done some super cool stuff in the world of professional wrestling, and you said growing up a fan. Now you're hanging out. Did you ever think growing up you'd be hanging out with Tommy Dreamer, watching him cane fans at the 1940s brewery?
You know what's funny is Tommy was also a big supporter of the video. And ironically enough, Tommy is the one that actually told me about Ashley.
Oh, wow.
So I saw Tommy that day, and then he called me a few hours later, and I knew something was wrong because he called me. Like, I consider Tommy like a big brother too, and he knows how much wrestling means because other than music, wrestling is probably the easiest way that like a bullied kid or an awkward kid can make friends. Because we have our own language.
Yeah.
And when you meet Tommy, you just meet a big giant wrestling fan that just happens to have been there.
It's so funny you say that because whenever I'm at the gym or at the grocery store, I see somebody in Macho Man shirt, we give each other a fist bump. That's like the same way you see somebody in a shirt you like, a dude in a metal shirt. You kind of give them like the wink and the nod, the fist pound. That's it. It's like an underground, unspoken kind of communication. I think you and I had first met at House of Hardcore, and Tommy Dreamer's shows he runs down in St. James, and we were talking. The next thing I know, dude, you're in the ring with the Sandman drinking beers? What?
So I thought it was cool the show before when I got to do some ring announcing, and I'm like, wow, it'll never get better than that. And then
surprise.
Yeah, I think I was standing by your tent, and Tommy had waved me in. So like when ECW was at its height, I remember leaving the bars at 2 a.m. just to go watch it on MSG, right? And then either you went back out or you were happy because ECW was great, but
New Jack dove off a balcony or something, and you're like, holy shit, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, like my night's not going to get better than this.
And I've peaked, and that's it, right?
And I remember Tommy being so understanding of that. Like, he knew how much of a fan I was of his, and he never, like, made me feel awkward about it. And then when he waved me in the ring, I didn't know what was going on. And when he handed me the beer, and there I am in between him and the Sandman, as a child, as a fan, you're waiting for this your entire life. It's like singing with your favorite band, drinking a beer with Tommy Dreamer and the Sandman. And, like, I'll never forget the sound of that beer cracking. It was, like, the greatest moment.
Dude, what kind of pressure are you under when Tommy Dreamer waves you in the ring, though? Like, I think I might freeze in that situation. I'm like, what do you do?
You know what's crazy about that day, Mike? It was 2 days after Chris passed. It was the whole Chris passed. So we found out Thursday morning, right? And then that night was Chris Jericho at 89 North. And Tommy was there to help promote the show. And then Friday or Saturday, Friday.
Yeah, Friday night, yep.
It was that show. So, like, it's funny that you brought that up. All of this is just kind of, like, coming together.
Wow, that's crazy. I didn't even realize. I didn't even put 2 and 2 together.
I didn't until just now.
Wow, that's some kind of synchronicity that neither one of us were aware of at that point. But are you still keeping up with wrestling now? Are you still watching it during the quarantine? You kind of zone in, zone out?
I'm going to watch AEW tonight. I really love that Orange Cassidy kid. I think he's hysterical.
Dude, he's so funny. It like nothing makes me laugh like Orange Cassidy. I think it's hilarious.
I still have a great relationship with the WWE, and they have been phenomenal. Like, every time I needed a wrestler to talk to, I interviewed Charlotte Flair, Roman Reigns, Becky Lynch. I mean, when they give me somebody to talk to, it's not, the mop boy. They give me the top names.
Dude, we can't even get a mop boy. I can't even get a janitor from the WWE. I'll take a security guard at this point. They've big leagued us so hard. Everybody else works with us, but WWE won't even give me an email address at this point. But I digress.
Like, and I get the honor that I've heard before, so that's fantastic. I just haven't really seen anything. When we do wrestle different, the quarantine and stuff. Some of the matches were good. I did not like that Undertaker thing, and that's where it is now. It's like it's too theatrical.
Yeah, and I think they really may feel like they have to do that to deliver something. But AEW is doing a hell of a good job delivering wrestling every Wednesday, and I think NXT, If I want to watch, listen, I just watched Shopping Mall and Maniac Cop 1, 2, and 3. If I want to watch something campy, I'm gonna watch those movies. You know, like if I want to watch pro wrestling, I want to tune in for professional wrestling. I'm the same way. Orange Cassidy is a guy that I like to watch. Now, are there any other young guys that catch your eye that you're like, oh man, you know what, I can get into this again? Like not to the level of Macho Man and Miss Elizabeth, but
No, but that's the problem. Is that as much as I love wrestling, how many guys in black tights with long stringy black hair are you going to see? Nobody stands out. Brutus the Barber Beefcake, I was talking about him the other day. I get it that if you look back on his matches now, he was an atrocious wrestler, but it didn't matter. He was entertaining. You know, he knew the crowd. He knew when to lock on the sleeper hold. You didn't need to do a lot if you knew how to work the crowd.
here's how I look at it. We were also entertained by an 8-bit NES Mario, right? That Brutus the Barber Beefcake is my Tecmo Bowl, right? He's like, that's the best of what they gave us at the time, and that's all we had. Now we got options, and I think it's a little bit different, but it's also they can't build. I think ever since Austin got to the height he was at, they're afraid to build characters that have a little bit of that could actually rival them in popularity, right?
Yeah, you know, I get it that it's easier to control guys that aren't bigger than the company. But unless you get bigger than the company, you're not going to capture fans' attention like you did with the Stone Cold Steve Austin. I took my mom to the Raw reunion show in Tampa.
Oh, wow.
About a year ago. And when that glass broke, when Angle's music came out, when Hogan's music came on, you heard the difference in the crowd because there was something to cheer. You know, Seth Rollins, Burn It Down. That's like the corniest thing I ever heard. You know, it's not like from being from Parts Unknown. It's not like, you know, when Jake the Snake was signaled for the DDT. It's too generic now.
No, and you're right. And like you said about everybody with the stringy hair and the beard. I mean, Roman Reigns and Elias and Seth Rollins, they look like they're three brothers from, you know, just a different they all grew up during a different era, but they all have the exact same look, and it's you know, they say it's not as fun as it used to be, but then I go back and I watch like WrestleMania 3, and did the wrestling suck? Yeah, but it was damn entertaining. I'll listen to Bobby Heenan on commentary any day of the week. It doesn't matter who was in the ring.
Biggest problem that I have with wrestling today is the commentary, because the announcers that they have now cannot hold the candle to Bobby the Brain Heenan and Gorilla Monsoon. They can't hold a candle to Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler. These guys were the man. Look, it's not easy to make, you know, Andre the Giant and Big John Studd, who like lumbered around the ring, seem entertaining, but they did it.
Yeah, Jesse Ventura, he was another guy that, like, no matter what was going on in the ring, it was terrible. But listening to Jesse and Gorilla, like, those were the days. And I feel bad because it's so overproduced now with, like, Vince McMahon. It's definitely a different era. They don't have as much creative freedom, which is why I like AEW, because I hear Jim Ross, I hear Tony Schiavone. Those are the guys that I grew up listening to. And now they're just older and crabbier, but equally as entertaining as they were back then. So I was like, man, this is good stuff.
Where is Joey Styles? Because him I miss.
Let me tell. All right, so Joey Styles, all-time top 5 commentator of mine. Unfortunately, Joey Styles made a grab her by the P word joke at an event when he was told specifically not to mention the president, and that was it for Joey Styles. We haven't seen him in probably 3.5 years.
Yep.
That's like, Joey Styles, though, right? That
you stay away from religion and politics for that reason. And, you know, Joey Styles was probably – he had the most difficult announcing job, because the one criticism that I'll have with ECW is that they had no psychology whatsoever. You would pile drive a guy through the roof, down into the basement, onto a bed of nails, and he'd kick out at 1.
But then he wins with a cradle.
Right. Right. The backslide and the match is over. Joey made it all believable. He elevated the excitement level when it was next to impossible to do.
Yeah, and Joey Styles, when he commentated at One Night Stand, when the WWE brought back ECW, and he was in the ring crying. I was like, One Night Stand, I was there with Joe. I was 18 and blacked out drunk. But when I tell you, like, that's one thing that I will never forget was the energy in that arena. To me, that's the last time that I felt, that was the last time where it was like, oh, like this is larger than life. And now it's like, oh, cool. It's Monday and football's not on, so I'll watch Raw, But I'm not gonna miss NXT, and I'm not gonna miss AEW. So at least we have something to look forward to. But I mean, we got about 10 days till Rangers hockey's back. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Baseball is very nice right now. Seeing sports on TV is nice, but I feel like hockey is going to be the one sport where that's not affected by the fans, because once you're invested in the fast-paced game, once you're invested in these guys smacking each other against the boards, you're not going to notice it as much. I mean, I'm sure you'll notice it, but we scream in our living rooms a hell of a lot louder than the cameras could pick up the crowd noise,
That's for sure, especially at the Coliseum, because nobody's ever there, or wherever the Islanders play now.
It'll be the same. It'll be at the stadium.
But you know what? They'll have the advantage.
I'm looking forward to the Rangers, obviously. We have a great track record this year against Carolina. I think it's going to be the goalie situation. The Islanders have the same problem, but the Islanders have always had this problem. Commit to a goalie and move on with your season.
Oh, I mean, they committed to DiPietro for 65 years, and we know how that went for them. I think they still have some PTSD from that situation. He's got the Bobby Bonilla deal. I think he's still getting paid to this day.
Didn't they pass up Gabrick for him?
I think Joe's my hockey stat guy, but I'm pretty sure that was the same draft year.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that the choices were Gabrick or DiPietro. Now, I understand the needs were different, but it was a complete bust. I'm in need of hockey. I think any sports fan is in need of hockey right now, because with football, baseball, there's a lot of stoppage. That's when the lack of crowd noise is going to be deafening. With hockey, it's not like that.
That's a great point. Yeah, because between the downs in football and
Right.
baseball, it's like watching spring training. As much as you can, but as a music guy, you also got to be looking forward to getting shows back. Realistically, as a guy who's in the business, how far away do you think we are from that? Do you think that's even possible in 2020?
No, I think you'll see a couple of these innovative drive-in shows. I think you might see one or two socially distant, carefully planned, intimate performances. The Nixons did this show at a place in Texas, which was comparable to the Paramount, about 1,000 people. And it was sold out, but sold out was 200 tickets. And they gated everyone off. Like, I think it was like $200 a ticket or $200 for a square. And the people that you went with were the ones that stayed in the square. The band was not allowed to touch or talk to any audience member. They sold strategic seats in the balcony, maybe 20 rows apart. And then you could pull your car up in the parking lot and they set up screens. I think that's the closest we're going to get. It's not even the bands. I just don't think any promoter wants to take the risk of a really scared public not showing up.
No, and that's a great point, especially being at a show. It was February 28th or 29th. I'm a big Long Island hardcore guy, so I saw Gorilla Biscuits and Indecision.
At Revolution?
Yeah. No, it was at Revolution Bar in Amityville. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah.
I was there one night. I only stayed for an opening band. I walked a friend of mine in. But, yeah, I think that was like one of the last shows, right?
Yeah, and I went to that show on a Friday, and then Saturday I went to an Evolve Pro Wrestling show. And then on Monday, I woke up not feeling too good. And I was like, that's weird. I think I have the flu. I was sick for 8 days. I lost my sense of taste. I lost my sense of smell for a month. So, but they weren't testing for anything back then, so I don't really know. I mean, it sucked. I watched every Indiana Jones movie like 3 times because I had nothing else to do. But unfortunately, those are the kinds of places where like that's where shit's gonna breathe, right?
January 2nd is when I got sick. I remember New Year's Day, I was standing out in the driveway in the cold, helping my friend Ralph with his car, thinking, man, I better get home. I'm going to get sick. Woke up on fire. I had 103.9.
You were almost clinically dead at that point.
Pretty much. I couldn't walk. I couldn't taste. And you're not thinking anything of it. My friends would come in, the girls would drop off Gatorade. after 3 days, I felt better. Should I have gone out? No. But I think I just, went to the store to go pick up some soup just to physically move. God knows if I spread it to anybody, but looking back on it, it sure as hell seemed like I had what everybody's talking about.
Yeah, you might have been patient zero. You could have been like the monkey in Outbreak and not even known about it.
I flew to Florida for my grandmother's funeral. 8 days later, ironically enough, I might be patient zero, and I don't know if I did anything illegal, so I should probably stop talking about it. But no, I mean, honestly, I had felt better at the time, but thinking back on it, we didn't know what was going on.
No, we didn't know until I think it was like March 7th or 8th. They're like, oh, it's in New York. I'm like, what? It's in New York. And here we are, man. But I hope for everybody's sake, a couple of things. A, they check you out on all of your social media, which is Tattoo and Talk, I believe, on Twitter.
At Tattoo and Talk on Twitter, Orlando0616 on Instagram. I have not broken out the kazoo in a while.
I think we're due for a kazoo. You know what the kids keep telling me to do is get a TikTok. You might be able to be a successful TikToker with your kazoo.
I was just told to get a TikTok the other day. Like I don't do Snapchat because I don't understand it. I have to draw the line somewhere. I don't care if you call me a boomer. I feel like TikTok is just it's like going to the Bordy Barn at 42.
Okay, first of all, that sounds awfully fucking judgmental. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I'm just kidding. My buddy sends me like TikTok videos, and I'll click it, and like it opens up in Safari. I'm like, dude, what am I even doing? I'm scrolling through, and these kids are like 20. I was like, now I'm the creepy old guy looking at TikToks because they auto plays.
That's how I felt at the Bordy Barn. Like, I was 20, and I'd be like, look at that old dude. That old dude was probably 10 years younger than me, and now,
that old dude was like 24.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, listen, if you ever want to go back to the Bordy Barn again, and you want to be among people that are in the same age, I'm willing to, venture back that way.
Bro, I swear, after this is over, if the Bordy Barn is the only place I can go, I will gladly stand in the corner and be ridiculed by every college kid out there. I'm out drinking disgusting bottom-dwelling beer, and I'm happy.
Who brought the creepy uncles in the corner? Yeah, we're those guys. We're the creepy uncle guys. No problem. Any day of the week. Well, I want everybody to check out Choose Song official video. There's just a great way to donate right at the bottom. And check out – go ahead.
The donation link goes straight to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention Long Island. And it's right there in the details. In a couple of weeks, we're going to release the song to audio, to Spotify, to Apple, and all that stuff. But we're also going to have a direct link to like a website where you can go and download the song and just make a donation to them, and we'll give you the song. We're still working out the details.
That's awesome. And when you click on the link, it's afsp.org, and it goes directly to that website. You're not, donating to third parties and have to worry about where your money's going from. It's for a great cause. Everybody check it out, share it, give it a thumbs up. I'm sure the one person with the thumbs down, sometimes you fat finger it and you go to slide. I do it all the time. I send weird pictures, like responses on Instagram because I didn't realize I was fat fingering it. It happens. But everybody go give it a thumbs up, share it, continue the great message. Orlando, thanks for all you do, man. All your positive contributions to Long Island and the people and the animals too. We know you're big on animal rescue and animal adoption. So check it out. And we look forward to hearing you on the show. But we look forward to seeing you in person, man, and hanging out and just being able to drink beers without being judged for wearing a weird mask.
Listen, whatever the new rules are, because they're changing every day, if the rules state that we can hang out in the same room and have a drink, I'd love to do it.
Well, I'll get on my Twitter and I'll see what Cuomo's up to today. I'm sure he'll give us an answer. But for everybody, again, thank you so much for checking out this episode of the All Night Long Wrestling Podcast. He is Orlando of 94.3 The Shark. I am the Enforcer. That's a Stallion, and we're tapping out.
Now, with the best friends.